News. North Korea is defending plans to hold a military parade just one day before the opening ceremonies of the Winter Olympic Games in neighbouring South Korea. Scenes like these have marked the founding of the country's military for the past 40 years, but the parades are usually in April. This year, though, Pyongyang has decided to move that anniversary to February the 8th. Let's get more on this now. Talk to Robert Kelly, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Pusan National University in South Korea. Warm welcome to you. Thanks very much for being with us. What's your assessment of why they've moved this date and also why they've gone public on it? Because they don't usually do that, do they?
Yeah, I would assume that the parade is intended to sort of signal strength during the talks with South Korea, right? The Olympics have led to an inter-Korean dialogue. The North Koreans are already playing it pretty tough. They're asking for some stuff that the South Koreans cannot give, such as the return of defectors. They seem to be playing it pretty hard. And my guess is that's what the military parade is intended to do. It's going to be gigantic. It's the day before the Olympics. It kind of sends a signal that even though South Korea can have all these sort of foreigners coming to its country in this sort of big, peaceful, exciting event with all this global attention, you know, everybody still has to pay attention to the crazy uncle in the attic to the north.
A lot of South Koreans are already uneasy about this coming together of the two countries for the Olympics. How are they going to react to this, do you think?
Yeah, it's sort of a mixed bag, right? I mean, the conservative press in South Korea is kind of getting a little bit unhinged, right? They're talking about sort of like selling out South Korea and stuff like that. I don't really think it's that bad. I think expectation management is has not been done well in Korea. I think people are sort of really excited about this as though some breakthrough is imminent. I don't really think that's true. You know, we've had sports diplomacy in the past. I mean, it's been mildly successful in some particular instances, but you know, we've been trying to talk to North Korea for 25 years on issues like nuclear weapons and human rights. I would be amazed if this was sort of a major breakthrough. I mean, maybe we'll get lucky. We should always try, but you know, we've sort of been here before.
Yeah, we have been here before. But what about how President Trump might react? Because the US had at least somewhat warmed to this easing of diplomatic relations between the two Koreas. But then, of course, we had President Donald Trump criticize Kim Jong-un very vocally in his State of the Union address last week. What kind of a reaction do you think we could expect from the US?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the big question mark now, right? Or how are the Americans going to respond because the president is so erratic? My sense is at this point is that the president's so all over the place on North Korea, right? One of his envoys here just said, you know, we're not going to have a war after all. My sense of the administration is sort of all over the place, that it's kind of becoming, it's all sort of canceling itself out, right? We don't really know where the Americans stand on this kind of stuff, right? If Trump wants to strike South Korea or North Korea, for example, you'd see a buildup in South Korea and Japan of military forces. I don't see anything like that. There's really nothing going on here. There's been sort of a lot of hot rhetoric, obviously, but there's not really been a lot of follow through. And there's also been a lot of backtracking, right? We've had various officials from the White House, most importantly, the Secretary of State, saying, you know, we're not going to do this. We want diplomacy. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I just to sort of discount the president's Twitter outbursts. You know, we just have to wait to actually get something more sustained from, I suppose, the more serious people in the administration, like the Secretary of Defense.
I want to ask you about another story we're covering concerning North Korea, and this is about a UN Security Council report that said China, Russia and Malaysia had failed to stop illegal exports from North Korea, which had netted them nearly $200 million last year by exporting banned commodities. And this is in violation of international sanctions, of course. What's your assessment of this?
Sure. First, I don't think it's a big surprise, right? The North Koreans have been doing gangsters kind of stuff going back 40, 50 years now. North Korea has needed external cash, and it's engaged in criminality to get it since at least the 60s, probably the 70s. So I'm not surprised that they've done this. I also don't think it's probably not the governments themselves sort of looking the other way. Instead, what you have are probably a lot of petty, corrupt local officials, you know, some colonel in charge of a port somewhere who looked the other way when something was repackaged and relabeled and then sent off to North Korea. That is traditionally how most people think the North Koreans have sort of smuggled stuff around in the past, sort of fake paperwork and shell companies and front firms and things like that. They've been doing this for a while. It's good that they got caught out, and it's nice to see the UN actually nab them, because this will help sort of make the sanctions less porous. But I think it's been known for a while that the sanctions are too porous, right? We really need the Chinese and the others around North Korea to just take it more seriously and clamp down harder.
Okay, Robert Kelly, always good to talk to you. Thanks very much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.